Has AOC been co-opted by the party or have progressives won?
Mike. I don't know who you are. I don't know where you are. But your name wanna start changing your ways.
Has AOC been co-opted by the party or have progressives won? Yes. My answer is that this is always how it was going to go. After Bernie Sanders lost, it has been pretty demonstrated pretty clearly that if you want to be a left-winger in the Democratic Party, you have to be a Democratic Party stalwart in a lot of ways. Because that's what Democratic voters want. Now, you can argue that that's bad. I would argue that it's really bad. But the reality is that how many people now have been defeated by accusations that they weren't hard enough with the party? It wasn't ideological defeats. These were not defeats because they're too far left or something. These were defeats because they weren't nice enough to the party. This is legitimately the facts. Look at Nina Turner's loss. Look at Cori Bush's loss. Look at Jamal Bowman's loss. Every single one of them was, oh, they voted against Build Back Better. Now, why did they vote? Oh, they voted against, the bipartisan infrastructure bill. Why did they do that? Well, because they wanted Build Back Better, which is what Joe Biden was saying he wanted. And they were trying to back him up by putting pressure on the rest of the Democrats not to try to pass a bill that just gave the Republicans and conservative Democrats what they wanted without doing Build Back Better. And guess what happened? That was used as, oh my God, they're opposing the party. Was that substanceless? Absolutely. That's the reality. Now, I don't think AOC has that. India Walton is the same. I mean, but even though it's not true, it's obviously a lie. It's important to understand it's not true, but it doesn't matter. So now we have a situation where Joe Biden is pursuing a policy in Gaza that is maximalist, but he's doing what Democrats do, which is saying that he's being nuanced. It doesn't matter that he's not. It doesn't matter that he is a liar. That is the reality we're living in. Nobody gets punished for opposing the party from the right, though. That's because the right wing controls the party. The right wing of the Democratic Party is in control of the Democratic Party. Joe Biden is president. Who do you think he represents? Left? I think a lot of people have kind of not updated their mental model from 2020. Here's what happened in 2020. And I told you at the time, we lost. And they were going to do everything they could to put us in the ground. And you know what? They failed. And AOC's speech is actually a sign that they failed. But in many ways, they succeeded as well, in that the Democratic Party voter is not more left wing than it was in 2020. It's just not. Now, the party has moved to the left on some issues, but it's not like the voter is frustrated with the Democratic Party leadership. On the contrary. When I talk about voter, I'm talking about Democratic base voter. Whereas in the Republican Party, the Republican base voters rejected their leadership. Democratic base voters have not done that. The leftist infighting shit is so dumb. You said it yourself. Where are the militant trade unions? Where is the Vanguard Party? We live in a police state. Terminal online leftists getting pissed about people living out is so ridiculous and counterproductive. No wonder why the American left movement is nearly non-existent. There isn't an American left. There isn't. The American left is who and what? A few thousand PSL members? We had a massive uprisings in 2020, and what happened with those? Like, that's just, and by the way, this is not to criticize people that are fighting for good things. I'm on board with that. This is just being a mature adult. And I don't think there's enough mature adults. The Dem Party where grassroots social movements go to die. I think that's one of those things that we all say because of a cold, hard truth, which is that the grassroots doesn't exist. People want to just blame those who are trying to operate within the reality that exists and saying you're to blame because it gives you permission to do nothing.
Please welcome New York Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Did Mike ever read Settlers? I don't read CIA books.
Chicago, for your energy. Thank you, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, for your vision. And thank you, Joe Biden, for your leadership.
So a lot of people see this and are rightfully grossed out by it. But here's the thing that I ask you: how many doors did you knock for Jamal Bowman? How many phone calls did you make? How many dollars did you donate? If the answer is I did nothing, then this is you own this, you fucking bitch. Cori Bush and Jamal Bowman got owned because why? They voted against the bipartisan infrastructure bill, and they were attacked by tens of millions of dollars of Zionist money. And what was the Zionist money? Was it like, oh, these people don't support Israel? No, that was, they don't support Joe Biden. Nina Turner was the test case. I went out, and a few of the people from the community, we went out to canvass and do phone calls for Nina Turner. This is the result of the reality that in America, there is not an anti-establishment movement of any strength on the left. That is the fucking reality. It doesn't seem like it's got a lot of juice. That is the facts. And a lot of people don't want the facts to be the facts, and they'll get mad at you for pointing out what the facts are because the facts make them mad. And it's like, get over it. You're not going to see a congressperson attacking Joe Biden anymore. You're not going to see it from Summer Lee. You're not going to see it from AOC. You're not going to see it from any Democratic member in Congress. You're not going to see any of them attack the sitting Democratic president, probably again, because those people get kicked out of office because the voters hate it. That's the facts. Even Rashida Tlaib. Rashida's voice is about how America is doing X and Y. And by the way, that's the one exception that proves the rule. I've spoken with libs and they're completely brainwashed by mainstream media. The cognitive dissonance that really is different from what they've been told just makes them angry and more right-wing. Of course. If you didn't know that, you haven't done enough political work. You don't have to suck them off either. Oh, I agree. I disagree with this. But when I see this is what makes me different than a lot of people. When something like this happens, I think about why is it happening? Why is AOC saying, thank you, Joe Biden? Because everybody who tried the opposite was thrown out of office and is irrelevant now. Do you want to be thrown out of office and be irrelevant? Is this too hard of a pill to swallow? Saying, thank you, Joe? If it's too hard of a pill to swallow, then that it is what it is.
6 years ago, I was taking omelet orders as a waitress in New York City. I didn't have health insurance. My family was fighting off foreclosure, and we were struggling with bills after my dad passed away unexpectedly from cancer. Like millions of Americans, we were just looking for an honest shake. And we were tired of a cynical politics that seemed blind to the realities of working people. It was then, only through the miracles of democracy and community, that the good people of the Bronx and Queens chose someone like me to elect them in Congress. And America, in my heart, I know from that same cloth of hope and aspiration, we will also elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz as presidents and vice presidents of the United States of America.
I think one of the big issues for me politically, when I look at politics in America today, is the reality that a lot of leftists are so divorced from the concepts of electoral victory that their dream is to say something that annoys libs. It's just the same kind of social media brain that libs have. Everybody is, you know, on these tracks, on these dopamine hit tracks. You know, I want to land a dunk on Twitter and get my 5,000 likes. I got a lot of likes, therefore my politics is working kind of mentality. And here's what I see. Here's what I see. I see someone in our movement who has completely catapulted to the very front of the line, but is still a part of the Democratic Party. And so the question we have to ask ourselves is that the bitter pill that we're willing to swallow? And I can tell you right now, the answer, I know the answer is yes to every single fucking person. I want you to imagine 4 years from now, 2 years from now, AOC becomes governor of New York, primarying Kathy Hochul out of office on a platform of rejuvenating, you know, New York's public transit, social and public housing, raising the minimum wage, sectoral bargaining, whatever the fuck you want, you name it. Is that a better alternative than the status quo? Is it worth going for? Was FDR an improvement over Herbert Hoover? Was FDR worth it? Was FDR a good politician? If you could go back in history, would you have not had a FDR win? It's really the only question you have to ask yourself is, do you think that the differences between these people matter at all? If you don't think it matters, I think you're wrong.
I am here tonight because America has before us a rare and precious opportunity. In Kamala Harris, we have a chance to elect a president who is for the middle class because she is from the middle class. She understands the urgency of rent checks and groceries and prescriptions. She is as committed to our reproductive and civil rights as she is to taking on corporate greed.
The reality that we're facing right now is that the left in America doesn't have a central organizing cause or figure from which it can reliably command majoritarian support. The only exceptions I see to that are the beginning of the rejuvenation of the trade union movement led by leaders like Sean Fain. And I think people want to be, it's like the difference between an acorn and an oak tree. Most people on the online left think that the left is an oak tree ready to be cut down and sawed into logs and, you know, building a beautiful socialist utopic paradise with the boards. When in reality, it's barely an acorn. It hasn't even shot up green shoots yet. Everybody wants to skip a part to the part where they get what they want. I think people want to skip ahead to the part where they control everything and they win all the time. And it's like, I think about AOC as somebody who comes from the Bernie Sanders left, is now her own independent entity who has to survive with as her own independent entity, who's going to make compromises that I don't agree with in order to survive as a political figure, and who is sympathetic to and open to left-wing critique, but will not align with the electorally ignorant or the electorally insignificant factions who strive for the perfect press release. So do I agree with AOC on everything? Absolutely not. Do I criticize AOC all the time? Yes. Does trashing AOC help my politics whatsoever? Nope. If you're a person who has come to the insight, who believes that electoral politics are a dead end, the Democratic Party is a dead end, we need to do revolution, you have not done a good job of paying attention to the world around you. If you believe, for example, that protesting, if you can't explain to me what protests are and what they're for, then you probably don't have a very good sense. And if you're one of those people who believes that revolution is possible, I ask you, or revolution is necessary, which, you know, I don't necessarily disagree with you. I just disagree with you on how to get from A to B. You believe revolution is necessary. Are you a professional revolutionary? If not, why not? If you believe revolution is the only way, why are you not a professional revolutionary? Is somebody else supposed to do the revolution for you? Are you a fuck? Is it like Uber Eats, but for revolution? Uber revolution, where you open your fucking cell phone and you type out your order on Twitter, and then the revolutionary drone does the revolution for you and then delivers you fucking healthcare or whatever? Because I'm disabled. Yeah, there's never been any revolutionaries with disabilities, guys. There's no money in being a professional revolutionary. Gotta pay them bills. Well, then I know you didn't study the revolution. Lenin and Stalin robbed a fucking bank and got away with it. There was a lot of money in revolution. What do you mean? I think the end of the day is everybody wants to look at, everybody has a video game mentality. They have a social media mentality. They have a millennial mentality of stomp my feet. Some sort of worker drone somewhere will do the work for me, and then it'll get delivered hot and fresh on my doorstep. And that's not real. I have yet to meet anybody who called for revolution who knows a goddamn thing about being a revolutionary. I've yet to meet somebody who is like, yeah, I think we need to do a revolution, and I'm also a small arms expert. I'm also a demolition expert. I also know how to embezzle millions of dollars. I've yet to meet anybody who has a fucking skill to do revolution who argues for revolution. If you think revolution is going on the streets and chanting, you don't know what revolution is. And that's the embarrassing part of any time I have these kind of conversations. A smart person wouldn't volunteer that info, man. Yeah. That's how we do revolution. We never organize anything. We just learn stuff in secret and then never deploy it. That's exactly the point. I mean, like, give me a fucking break. Well, people can't get motherfuckers to sign a union card. How the fuck are they going to convince someone? Are you willing to die for socialism? Then don't ever say the fucking word revolution to me. If you're not willing to die for revolution, shut the fuck up about revolution. You have a little humility. The system is built to make people incompetent. Yes. Why? I'm not sure why you would attack them for it. Because that's reality. Grow up. You're not a child. You want to do revolution? Show me. Have you even thought about it? Have you had fear grip your fucking soul, realizing that you would have to fight against multi-trillion-dollar institutions that have fucking backdoors on your personal cell phone, could read every single one of your emails, have satellite photos, that they could have live satellite monitoring? They have, you know, like, what are you doing? What the fuck are you talking about, man? So what am I trying to do? With this argument, what am I trying to explain? Because revolution isn't just a belief you have. It's a process. It's a real thing with real people who die. So why are we talking about electoral politics? Because that's more real. That's why do you think I talk about trade unionism? Because it's real. Because Sean Fain made hundreds of thousands of people's lives better with the UAW. He wasn't LARPing and feeling good about himself on social fucking media, which is another neoliberal mind prison that you've walked into, chasing dopamine hits. We need to build the cadres before any revolutionary movement could even begin. Exactly. Exactly. Has anybody read Mao? Has anybody read Castro's works? Has anybody read Che's works? Has anybody read anything about revolution who says revolution? No. As a PSO member, ever since I've joined, I've learned very quickly the left isn't ready for any type of revolution. The American working class is zero class consciousness. There's a reason why the Bolsheviks failed at first. I mean, Americans have such anarchist brain rot that if somebody is a veteran, leftists online will be like, ew, imperialist. The anarchist brain rot of American leftists is so fucking annoying and terrible that I don't even bother. Like, half the time I'm even scared to make fun of it because I'm going to have a bunch of annoying people. And it's not that I'm actually fearful. It's just annoying. There hasn't ever been a revolution that succeeded that didn't have a massive contribution from the military. Like, people will be like, oh man, the National Guard got sent into the George Floyd protests. And it's like, what were the odds that the National Guard would have switched sides? That's what a revolution is something to talk about. Is if the National Guard comes out to the cities and then switches sides. Now you're talking. But the average anarchist would be like, ew, I can't believe you want to talk to those imperialists and those baby killers. New left garbage. That's the type of stuff I'm talking about. is this kind of like subculturism, this a revolution that doesn't come from the society that it is a member of. I truly believe you've never met any real anarchists, just LARPers, and that's okay. I'm not mad. I get what you mean. Okay. Anarchists have a hard time believing I could just find their entire ideology that I've thoroughly studied to be laughably stupid and wrong in every way. And they just have a hard time accepting that that's what I think. That's what I think. There are anarchists who have said things that I agree with and find really insightful and correct. But the idea that we're going to have some sort of leaderless, flat revolution from, and we're going to do the social and economic and everything all at once, it's just stupid, man. It's no. When you say new left, yeah, I'm talking about the weather underground. What are the main adjustments you make to socialist theory of the past to adjust for the internet's age? Well, the first thing that I would say is that I don't think any of us know how to organize shit. I think the main problem that we have, you know what I'm really thinking about with American politics right now is I believe that what gets people interested in power in politics is power. The reason why people care about elections is because you should care about elections, because the person who wins has power of the American state, which is a multi-trillion-dollar organization that has global reach. So it makes perfect fucking sense to want to have as much control of that organization as you can possibly get. Right now, what is damaging the left in America is that the left is forced to be a junior coalition partner to liberalism because we have the electoral college and we have a Senate that forces the left to continually have to readjust itself compared to this coalition with liberals to stop fascism. And that if we're going to try to break out of this electoral coalition of constant subversion and co-option and suppression, we need to change the American electoral system to allow for left-wing electoral groups to form. And that means fundamental constitutional reform of the American system.
And she is working tirelessly to secure a ceasefire in Gaza and bringing hostages home. In Kamala Harris, I see a leader who understands. I see a...
All right, so there you have it. The Gaza mention. And it is... The problem that we have here is simply this. Joe Biden doesn't want a ceasefire in Gaza. Everybody saying they're working for a ceasefire in Gaza is lying. That is the reality. Joe Biden does not want a ceasefire in Gaza. He is a genocidal racist freak, or he's so out of his mind, old and demented, he doesn't even know what's going on. And Anthony Blinken is engaging in his own personal diplomatic policies. I don't know which it is, but I know one thing. There isn't a ceasefire in Gaza happening. And the reality is that people want to give Kamala Harris the benefit of the doubt. That is where we are mentally. Joe Biden made a call to end the war as if he isn't the president who could end the war. The only way to end the war is to piss off the people who support Benjamin Netanyahu. That is the reality. Is Benjamin Netanyahu wants Donald Trump to win. All of the AIPAC Zionist extremists want Trump to win. If Israel is your number one issue, you're voting for Trump, period. So Joe Biden is pulling a standard Democrat politician playbook move where he supports the enemies of his own fucking party who don't want him to win, and he gets absolutely nothing for biting this bullet. So he's just a fucking racist scumbag. And every time, whether it's AOC or Joe Biden, anybody lends credence to the idea that they're trying to get a ceasefire at this point is just ruining their own reputation.
A leader with a real commitment to a better future for working families. And Chicago, we have to help her win. Because we know that Donald Trump would sell this country for $1 if it meant lining his own pockets and greasing the palms of his Wall Street friends. And I, for one, am tired of hearing about how a two-bit union buster thinks of himself as more of a patriot than the woman who fights every single day to lift working people out from under the boots of greed, trampling on our way of life. The truth is, Don, you cannot love this country if you only fight for the wealthy and big business. To love this country is to fight for its people, all people, working people, everyday Americans like bartenders and factory workers and fast food cashiers who punch a clock and are on their feet all day in some of the toughest jobs out there. You know, ever since I got elected, Republicans have attacked me by saying that I should go back to bartending. But let me tell you, I'm happy to any day of the week because there is nothing wrong with working for a living. Imagine having leaders in the White House who understand that. Leaders like Kamala and Tim. But Chicago, just because the choice is clear to us does not mean that the path will be easy. Over the next 78 days, we will have to pour every ounce, every minute, every moment into making history on November 5th. But we cannot send Kamala and Tim to the White House alone. Together, we must also elect strong Democratic majorities in the House and in the Senate so that we can deliver on an ambitious agenda for the people. Because if you are a working parent trying to afford rent and childcare, Kamala is for you. If you are a senior who had to go back to work because your retirement didn't stretch far enough, Kamala is for you. If you're an immigrant family just starting your American story, Kamala is for you. America, when we knock on our neighbor's door, organize our communities, and elect Kamala Harris to the presidency on November 5th, we will send a loud message that the people of this nation will not go back. We choose a new path and open the door to a new day, one that is for the people and by the people. Thank you. Thank you very much. God bless. God bless you all.
I think the situation is that a lot of people don't like the fact that we lost in 2020 and they want to act as if we didn't lose in 2020. And I'm going to be the person who tells you this. We lost in 2020. So now you have to ask yourself, and if you have a hard time accepting that, take a moment. Take a moment. We lost. Joe Biden won. Joe Biden went into office. I told you exactly what would happen at the time. And if you were a longtime Mike from PA stream watcher and you watched me in 2020, when Bernie Sanders dropped out of the race, I told you exactly what was going to happen. It was going to be 4 years of the right wing of the Democratic Party trying to smash as much as the left as they could, that Joe Biden was going to be a right winger, that he couldn't be trusted on criminal justice reform. He couldn't be trusted on any issue. I was cautiously optimistic when I heard Bernie Sanders was writing Build Back Better, and it was initially a $6.2 trillion social democratic program for America, a kind of mini Green New Deal. I supported that bill when it got cut down to 3.5 trillion and then 2.6 trillion. And then what was it? 1.6, 1.8, like, or 2.2 or whatever the fuck. And then finally it was just the pathetic, low level, bipartisan infrastructure bill, a plussed up highway bill that didn't even spend any money on fucking public transit. That's what I told you. Joe Biden was back to his old tricks. So here we are. The consequences of defeat, and we are rallying. And you have two leaders of this movement. In electoral politics, there's AOC. In non-electoral politics, you have Sean Fain. If you're talking about, I don't like either of them, then you have no one but your Twitter, whoever you follow on Twitter. You have TikTokers. But Mike, Jill Stein, not a socialist. I mean, you're telling me to vote for a third party, and you're telling me to vote for somebody who isn't even a fucking socialist, who's been grifting for fucking 20 years without a thing to show for it. Give me a fucking break.
She has no idea who Mike is.
Mike. I don't know who you are. I don't know where you are. But your name wanna start changing your ways. Change new ways. Gonna change your name. Change